This is a historic day for our profession and our organization, American Society of Civil Engineers. We hope that it will also be a historic day for Louisiana. The report card on Louisiana's infrastructure is the first report of its kind in the state's history. It's a comprehensive analysis of 9 infrastructure areas in an easy-to-understand format. The 9 areas that we considered include bridges, aviation, dams, drinking water, levees, ports, roads, solid waste, and wastewater. More than 50 engineers participated for over 18 months in putting this report together. The ladies and gentlemen standing here with me are the workhorses for this effort. They chaired the committees, they conducted the research, they put the stuff together, they read the report, reread the report, reread the report, and finally completed the work. The grades are as follows, and we will, I guess, unveil these. Aviation, C. Bridges, D+. Dams, B-. Drinking water, D+. Levees, C-. Roads, D. Solid waste, C+. Wastewater, C-. And ports, C-. If your child or my child brought this report card home, what would you do? This is not something that we are proud of. Our infrastructure represents the building block of our society. We depend on these building blocks to keep us safe, mobile, healthy, and economically competitive. It's very important. Our infrastructure is a key to our economic competitiveness, not only in our own country, but internationally. Our leaders must recognize that we cannot simply build it and leave it. Our infrastructure demands sustained attention. Our problems were not created overnight, and they are not going to be solved overnight. However, starting today, we can begin a dialogue and we can start a plan. I'm asking that Governor Jindal and Louisiana Legislature do exactly that. Use this report card as a starting point and initiate a planning process on what and when we are going to address our needs. It is fitting that today we have this news conference in this beautiful building, the old state capitol. And this building was built about 150 years ago. This old building survived Civil War. It survived a devastating fire. But we almost lost it due to neglect. It was the vision of some of our leaders 25 years ago that they decided to invest and to bring this building back to its glory days. And today, we are enjoying its tremendous beauty. I want to give you a few statistics that they are alarming. Obviously, infrastructure requires investment, and our public makes that investment. But I want to bring to your attention that we are already paying for it, and maybe we don't realize it. First, United States Department of Transportation has made a study, and it concludes that for a $1 billion investment in federal funds on transportation, we create approximately 28,000 jobs. So in this economy and in this high employment, if we want to create jobs, what are we waiting for? 45% of Louisiana's major roads is in poor or mediocre condition. Driving on these roads cost Louisiana motorists $1.2 billion a year in extra expenses. That is $408 for each of us that drive. We're paying that money and we don't realize it. 29% of Louisiana's bridges are structurally deficient or functionally obsolete. I pray that we don't have to face a catastrophe. Vehicle travel on Louisiana Highway increased by 20% from 1990 to 2008. Our population grew by 6% during that period, 1990 to 2009. Department of Transportation's revenue has remained stagnant on 16 cents gasoline tax since 1984. From 2004 to 2008, there were 4,782 people died on our highways, 912 of them in 2008. Roadway condition are a significant factor in approximately 1/3 of these accidents. That is why our liability automobile insurance is the second highest in the country. Business Report published this recently. Baton Rouge Business Report published it recently. A simple $100K, $300K, $50K liability insurance in Louisiana cost us $2,453, and we are the second highest in the nation. South Carolina, in contrast, second lowest in the nation, pays $1,095 for that liability insurance. So we are paying for the conditions that we have, and we don't know it. It is time, we hope, that our leaders look at this report, take this report, start thinking and planning for the next 10 years. It is going to take that long or longer for us to be able to address our needs. But if we don't plan it today, as the old proverbial, we're kicking the can down the road. I think the time has come for us to stop doing it and start planning.
Each section of the report that's been graded has the various areas that were considered with condition, capacity, operation and maintenance, resiliency, safety. Each one of those areas is identified and graded so that we can really get down into kind of the weeds of where we are stronger in some of our infrastructure areas per category than others. And the question that you just had of capacity over maintaining is addressed there in sort of a broken down format so that you can see where we need to kind of allocate funding for the future.
The American Society of Civil Engineers is an organization that was started 150 years ago, and it is a national organization of civil engineers, and we, as a state, started the state organization in 1914. So we're closing in on our centennial as far as an organization of engineers in the state of Louisiana. Civil engineers is kind of the basic engineering group that deals with the civil infrastructure, public works type projects, roads, bridges, dams, some of the things that you've seen in the report card.
I think the report card is it's an impressive document. It's very specific. It talks to the people in a way that they can understand, and it's presented in a manner that's very similar to something that they might see their children bring home. People can understand infrastructure when you start talking about A's and B's and C's and D's. They understand it, they can see that. And that was sort of the mission of the report card, is to really break down the areas of infrastructure, whether it's roads and levees and bridges, and look at, say, the condition or the capacity or the operation and maintenance of those particular categories, and specifically where they're deficient or where they're actually doing well, and really present it in a way that the public can understand.
Most of our infrastructure has been put in about 50 or 60 years ago, okay? Because 56 years ago, it was the 50s, the 60s. That's where our infrastructure was built for the most part. Now, we're 50, 60 years into it. That infrastructure has reached its limit as far as its age. Okay, it's time to be replaced. We have not been doing that lately. We've been, basically living on the past, living on the fact that we put in new infrastructure in the 50s, you let it go, maintenance could get deferred, didn't have to worry about the taxes and all of that kind of thing to support it. And now, what we have done is we've gotten into a position where things are becoming critical. And we depend on that water, we depend on the sewer, water, drainage, all of these systems, roadways, bridges, to be able to get to and from work, to have good drinking water, to have sanitation, solid waste. All of these things bring us a good quality of living. And we need to maintain those standards, or otherwise it's going to impact our ability to do work, to become that economic engine that we need to be to provide jobs and a better quality of life for all of the citizens of Louisiana. And that's really what we're trying to do here, is we're trying to start somewhere.
The report card for roads was, the grade itself was a D, which is not very good. You wouldn't be happy if your child brought home a D on his report card. And it reflects the current status of the system as well as what we feel is the future based on current funding levels and programs. The analysis looked at several things, looked at the capacity of the roads, looked at the condition, how smooth they are, etc. It was all based on current information that's available, and we had a team that analyzed that information and evaluated, gave different weights to different components: capacity, condition, safety, and sustainability, and what the current and future funding levels may be. And that was one of the areas where we really had a problem, because although there's been some incremental funding increases lately, there's no sustainable future funding for highways either on a state or federal level. The locals have done somewhat better than the federal and state. Say here in Baton Rouge, we have a green light program where the local governments have actually taken the initiative in doing some funding through a green light program and improved many roads in East Baton Rouge Parish. So we think that's kind of the future trend too, that local governments are going to have to step up and help with the local road system.
What was your reaction to the report card?
To our report card? As I started getting the grades in, a lot of it was, the reaction was actually, I wouldn't be happy to present that to my mom if it were me. It's something that we really need to take pride of, is our infrastructure in Louisiana, and do something better about it. I mean, we can't say that a D in roads is acceptable, and we can't say that a D+ in drinking water is acceptable. These are not good grades, and we have to do something about it. The reaction in general was I wouldn't want to bring this home to my mom.
It's very important that people know the importance of transportation, both highways and bridges. It affects their daily life. Anything you do involves transportation. Anywhere you go, you have to either drive or take a bus or a train or transit if you're in a big city like New Orleans and if you're in the main part of Baton Rouge. So it affects your daily life. It affects your trips to the doctor, to school. It affects the quality of life. And it also affects our economy. If you don't have a good road system, industries don't want to locate in your state. They want to go to places where they have good transportation systems so they can move their goods. And that's the other component. It's not just moving people, it's moving goods, trucks and delivery trucks and everything that affects your quality of life.
And is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I think it's very important that we get the word out to the average citizen so they know how important transportation is and how they can help by letting their elected officials know that they need to support adequate funding for transportation. We can't get there on yesterday's money. Every price of everything has gone up, but transportation funding has actually gone down because of inflation. So people have to know that you get what you pay for. If you don't want to pay for a first-class system, you're not going to get it. So it's our job to get the word out to everybody so they know how important funding is for the transportation system.
Your infrastructure is sort of like your lifeblood. It's every day. When you wake up, you brush your teeth, you're using clean water that is supplied to you. It doesn't just happen to be there. You're paying for that service. When you go to work in the morning, you're traveling across bridges, you're traveling across roads. You own this stuff. This is your property. And to not invest in that infrastructure and maintain it and to look towards the future is really going to hamper your day-to-day life. So that's really the message that we're trying to say here, is that it's very important to understand and not take for granted your infrastructure.
We would like public to really understand that we as public, one way or another, through various means, pay for all of this. And when we don't take care of the system, and when the system gets old, we're still paying for it. So it is a public awareness campaign, while we would like to bring to the attention of our legislators, bring it to the attention of the governor, of the condition of our infrastructure, and ask for their help and their leadership in starting a dialogue and a conversation as to what do we need to do to fix it.